Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Red Devils match day for Manchester United and a big match tonight as we try and just make sure we get kind of basically getting our Europa League season back on track because it's not been the season we've wanted to be so far, but it offers up a really big opportunity to try and win a trophy this season. And given how badly the Premier League going, this could also be our ticket into Champions League football and or any European football. So personally, I think we need to be all in on the Europa League. I really do. I think that this potentially offers us the best opportunity to trying to sneak our way into the Champions League football whilst potentially winning a trophy. Well, obviously we'd have to win a trophy to get there, but so it's a very interesting competition because it's not the competition you want to be in. But unfortunately, where we are as a club, we've got to look at the opportunity it presents, and that is the fact that it gets us into the Champions League. And given the fact that we've had a really poor season, if we were to finish the season with a trophy in Champions League football, we'd probably take it as actually a really big win. So interestingly enough, regardless of what happens in the league, say we finish 10th, ninth, at a push, if you were to win the Europa League, it would probably be a successful season because first of all, it'll be a season with three different managers and an absolute chaotic period of time, players coming, players going, full out of the works, and you yet finish it with a third trophy in 3 seasons, as well as Champions League football. So this is a competition I think United basically need to really be all in. And thankfully, with a couple of wins lately, we have managed to get ourselves into sort of those that spots to go into the next round, or to guarantee ourselves into the next round as opposed to going into playoff. A win tonight would pretty much secure that really, given the fact that. Rangers are right behind us, for example. It would take us to about 15 points. We would be 1 point behind Atletico Bilbao, for example, who are tied with Lazio. Lazio are playing tonight, but it could put us into sort of the top four, which is really kind of where you want to be. And you look at the sides in the Europa League currently, and there are sides we should beat. And obviously, then you wait to see whoever jumps down from the Champions League itself. But I think that the Europa League should be where we've put our focus. I think Europa League and the FA Cup with the league, what's there really to work with? We've lost so many games and games we shouldn't have lost that we've kind of given ourselves no chance of getting top four football and even the top eight and the likes of that. And look, I mean, at this stage, some people are even saying that if we're not in the Champions League next season, it might be worth not having any European football. Yes, you might not get the revenue from playing in the Europa and or the Conference League, but you've got a full season of no European football, which means that you can play your best team basically week in week out. You can really focus on the Premier League and like the FA Cup, for example, and try and get yourself back into the mix. Really try and go and win an FA Cup and get yourself back on track. So it's a very interesting conundrum, isn't it? Obviously we want to be in the Champions League, so you winning the Europa would be huge, absolutely massive. If you don't win the Europa, though, do you want to be in the Europa? Financially, we want to be in the Europa League, and even winning the Europa League, I think where United are as a club, we can't really scoff at winning a Europa League, for example, even a Conference League at this stage. Trophies are trophies, but ideally, we need to get ourselves back to being a club which is contending for Premier Leagues, Champions Leagues, and the likes of that. And we're so far away from that at the moment, we can't really be that picky. But it does present a very interesting possibility. I also think on the back of the press conference that yesterday we had with Ruben Amorim, we need to see a performance tonight. It was a very chaotic a press conference, and Ruben Amorim, I think, is starting to show. We're starting to see cracks show really of the pressure that he is currently under, and he needs a performance from his players because when you have a press conference like that, which shows that maybe you're nervous, that maybe shows that things aren't going very well, what you really need to do is go and hammer a opposition, and that is where we've got the opportunity to try and do it tonight. And what was interesting is that Ruben Amorim spoke about the fact that United actually are really struggling at home. That's even more so that the point to go and show that we can play in the Old Trafford. You go and bring Rangers to Old Trafford, for example, before we then go and play. I think it's FCSB in the next the final match day. Then the Europa League's done. So if you look at the table, for example, at the moment that top 8 is currently, we're just in the top 8 with 12 points. So if we were to win the next 2 games, we guarantee ourselves a position in that top 8. A win tonight would put us hopefully within that sort of top 4 or 5. And then depending on what happens further down the table, there can then be a situation where we can't actually drop out of the top 8, which is also ideally where you want to be, where you can actually rotate a little bit. You don't have to necessarily take the stronger side away to the final game. So this game tonight is more important than any particular Europa League game because of what it presents us the opportunity. We've lost silly games throughout the Europa season. And I think if we were sitting like Lazio, for example, they win tonight, happy days for them. They've got a guaranteed home game in the next round. They're through to the next round. They don't need to worry. We're not quite had that luxury. So tonight is an important game. But coming up on the show, we're going to be talking about the £180 million war chest, inverted commas, that Ruben Amorim potentially has to spend. We're going to be talking about an update in the Patrick Dorgu situation and the new bid that has been submitted. We'll be talking about Garnacho and how a lot of that money, for example, hinges on a move for him as well. And then we're going to finish up the show by looking at a predicted 11 and what I think we might see tonight. Let's start with this £180 million. So it is the Express reporting that should Manchester United manage to sell Garnacho for £60 million, which is the price tag that United are very much putting on him, that would then mean they will be able to spend £180 million on transfers because of the way that financial fair play works, for example. Given the fact that Garnacho is an academy player, that sale would represent pure profit and apparently would then allow us to spend up to £180 million without facing any sort of possible sanction. Obviously, for example, you go and sell a Marcus Rashford, that then goes also into that because we'd be able to declare that as a pure profit. So this is why, for example, the Garnacho sale is quite important, because the Garnacho, Rashford, even though Chloe Mainey sign a sale, say if we were to sanction it, it would represent pure profit. And given how stringent the financial regulations are at the moment, we've got to try and make sure that we're just doing everything sort of kind of by the book and getting ourselves through. Because at the moment, I mean, look, to be fair, we also have to wait and see what's happening in Manchester City. I mean, if there's no sanction on them, then personally, just, I think that's fair play, basically, whatever happens. Because you got a club who is currently being investigated for, financial irregularities, and then they're signing Erling Haaland on like a 9-year contract, earning like just shy of £1 million a week. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. This being a club that, 10, 15 years ago weren't in the Premier League, and now apparently it's one of the most profitable clubs in the world, despite spending ludicrous amounts on transfers and the likes. But we're not going to go down that route. We're talking about United. So Garnacho is expected to leave. I think that's the main thing. We've had a 42 million bid submitted to us, which we rejected, and the club has said no, we want more than that. And apparently Napoli are willing to go more. They are said to be preparing a secondary bid because they're really keen to get Garnacho in. And I think we're going to see a player go for 60 million and in a few years' time go for 120 million. I think he could be that kind of player. Probably even go for 100 million. But the reality is we're very bad at selling players, and the reality is we're not going to get a transfer fee for him that we feel we deserve, and probably matches, and not a transfer fee that probably matches the type of player he is and the type of player he has been for United. But that is unfortunately just the reality of where we are as a club, and we kind of just need to kind of not necessarily embrace it, but just accept it and start to work on being better sellers and the likes. £180 million, though, where does that go? That is sort of the big question. Now, obviously, lots of different, rumours and players that we're being linked to and the likes of that. And obviously, the big one that currently we're being linked to is Patrick Dorgu, where Fabrizio Romano has issued an update this morning saying that Manchester United are preparing a new proposal to Lecce for Patrick Dorgu. Apparently, it's not going to be as much as the €40 million price tag, but they're going to up it from the 27 million euros, and I imagine there'll be some more add-ons and the likes of that. The player himself is apparently very keen on the deal and no issues with potential contract, so he's keen to come. United are keen for him, and Lecce are open to selling him, but only if they get the desired fee, which is fair enough, really. And the problem is also United always pay the desired fee. So it wouldn't be surprising me if we sit there bidding all the time, and then on the 31st of January, next week, Friday, we're going to then submit a €40 million bid and get the deal done. a week or two after then it really should have been. But it is good news, the fact that we are looking to at least bring in one player. There was talks of a secondary player. I don't quite know where you go in terms of a secondary player or in terms of position. I'd like to see us bring in a forward. But I also think at the moment we're sort of struggling with that kind of dual 10s role. So I think we need to maybe look at somebody who fits the bill a bit better, maybe than a Garnacho. For example, somebody more in the model of Bruno Fernandes, somebody who's going to create a bit more. Because in theory, our width is going to be provided, obviously, from our wing back. So if you've got Ahmad down the right, and you've got Dorgu on the left, for example, who's actually played a lot of football this season at right wing. But obviously last season was predominantly at a left back. Then that should give you your width. And then it's more about kind of that creativity in the midfield and in those dual 10 roles where you can get in behind defenses, you can shoot from a distance and the likes of that. So hopefully we can kind of get more players like that. Obviously, if we can get Mason Mount fit, that becomes, first prize. But we all know that that's just not going to happen at the moment. I think we're going to struggle with fitness again. Hopefully next season we can see the Mason Mount that we've been waiting to see. But his fitness at the moment is just absolutely nowhere, in all honesty. But yeah, I mean, it's another interesting thing. Where you talk about having 180 million pounds. If this goes and costs us, call it just over 30 million pounds, 150 million pounds in the summer, where do you spend that money? And that's before potentially a Rashford sale. And this is why I think a Rashford sale will be so important, and a Jadon Sancho sale, an Antony sale. We've got to probably sell Sancho, Garnacho, Rashford, Antony, potentially Xerxes, if we're going to go that route. I don't think we're going to sell Maguire. I wouldn't sell Maguire. We've already spent the money. I don't think we'll recoup that much from him. And I think that I don't think what we're going to get for Maguire is going to sign a player who's going to be able to do the job he's currently doing. I think we'll be lucky if we get 30, maybe 40 million pounds for Maguire. That's not going to be enough to go and bring a Brathwaite from Everton, for example. Maybe it'll pay for like half of it. But there's no guarantees to be able to come in and offer us currently what Maguire's offering us. So I don't think that, and I think a centre back is probably not necessarily where we have to invest right now. I think that generally we're looking reasonably good. I think we need to look at our midfield, for example. Man Utd is being played into the ground at the moment. He's playing, I think, 4 games in a row. Is he even ready to be playing that? Is he good enough to be playing that right now? I think Ugarte has been fantastic, but we need a backup for Ugarte. I think we need another midfielder, probably another forward as well. So there's other players where I think we need to strengthen. Even in the wing-back situation, Alphonso Davies is someone who's been linked a lot to the club. I think he'd be a fantastic signing. I think he'd really fit the bill for what we need. A lot of pace going forward, offers you a lot of width, offers you that sort of attacking threat down the left-hand side. You then have an Alphonso Davies and a Dorgu gives you left-sided options. Your right-sided options, Ahmed and Mizraoui, you'd be pretty happy with that. Your centre-back options as Martinez, Maguire, De Ligt, and Lenny Euro. So, maybe add an additional one there. But also it's about upgrading, isn't it, I suppose, So that's the thing, You probably look to sell Maguire because you can maybe upgrade on him, but you'd have to put him obviously a lot of money. Can we upgrade on Dello, for example? I haven't even mentioned in terms of that right-sided player. But he's also, somebody who we didn't pay obviously a lot of money for him. He's making his 19 at the time. But if, he's not going to be good enough, he's not going to fit the system, then maybe he goes into the sale list. Ericsson probably will just leave. And Antony, I think we'll get a small fee for. I think we'll really try and sell him. And it's also about freeing up the wages. You free up the wages of Casemiro, Rashford. Obviously, Casemiro hopefully will leave. I don't think he's actually going to leave in January. It's all kind of gone a bit quiet, but hopefully we'll leave in the summer. Free up Casemiro's wages, Ericsson's wages, Rashford's wages. If you got Maguire leaves, that's also a big wage, bills saved. So then you'd be saving a lot of money. You'd have a lot of money in terms of your wages as well as hopefully a little bit of transfer fees to work with. So got to be really clever. I think the main thing as well is we've got to make sure we've got a plan that when the transfer window opens, we are there and ready to go, right, where are we offloading this player? Where are we offloading this player? Bang, 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 bang. Start the conversation with other players. I want to go into a preseason with our players ready. I want Amarin working with more or less the squad he's going to be working with for the entire season at preseason. There's no Euros in the off season, for example. There's no Copa America. There's no World Cup with the likes. So we can actually have a proper preseason, hopefully, which is exactly what the squad needs. And that's why Ruben Amorim just needs to try and limp along the season, try and find some results, and then have a proper full preseason, and then we can see what he can do next season. And if we don't see any further improvement next season, then Ineos gets left with a big decision to make. And I don't mind the fact that then they have to make a big decision. Because, at the end of the day, we can't just nosedive at the moment. And I think, I think he's the right type of manager in terms of the credentials he's got. I think the way he's come up, I think everything ticks the boxes. I do worry about the formation. and whether he's going to be able to make it work in the Premier League in the way he's made it work before. We saw people like Antonio Conte come in, win with the three at the back system, but not last particularly long, and that was kind of exposed eventually. We've seen Mutiya Sarri, for example, come in with a unique formation, unique way of playing. It worked for a season, and then kind of was found out. So yeah, as things do evolve, evolve, I'll be interested to see what we're going to see from the formation and the way that Ruben Amorim tries to sort of continuously weigh up the formation versus the league versus what the players he's got and the likes. But also, hopefully, you give him the right players for the formation, and then hopefully things will sort of click into place. So yeah, no, not too many other transfer updates at the moment. It'll be very interesting to see if we see Marcus Rashford and Antony in the squad tonight. Both expected to go out on loan this window. Antony's moves to Real Betis was supposed to be very close, but he was spotted in training yesterday, and we haven't really had much further update from him. But hopefully after this tonight, we'll be able to see that move go through. But let's talk about a potential predicted side for this evening. So this is what I've gone with for tonight. I think we have to go full strength. I think we have to name the side that we think is going to get the best possible result against Rangers. And there's some calls to make. So some people talking about the fact that Altay Bayende, obviously against Arsenal in the FA Cup, was fantastic. He hasn't really been playing in the Europa. It often has been on Ireland, so I think that will be the case tonight. Our back three, I think Maguire, De Ligt, Martinez is our best back three. You've got to then play them. I think Ahmed's doing really well in that right wing back role, and I think he then can progress into that dual 10 role. So I'm very happy for him to start tonight. I think Diego Dallo will come back onto that left hand side. We could see Mazraoui ahead of one of those two as well. The midfield I expect to be Ugarte and Maina. Don't think we're going to change much there. Eriksen was very good recently when he came off the bench, but I think that's kind of his role. He doesn't really have the legs to go 70, 80 minutes, but if he comes on when the opposition's a bit more tired, he can pick some brilliant passes. And I think we actually need to use him a bit more off the bench, to be honest. He's the best passer of the ball in the team, after him and Bruno probably. But I think Eriksen's just got that final cutout ball that is brilliant. So I think if you can bring in Eriksen later on in the game, I think that's a big help. Then I think you'll see Garnacho and Bruno in that kind of dual 10 roles. We have seen Garnacho start quite a bit. Maybe might not start given the fact it's on the way up, and until he leaves, I think I'll keep playing him. And then the big sort of toss-up really is Xerxes versus Højlund. Now, Højlund's been pretty poor recently, in all honesty, and Xerxes, especially against Arsenal and against Southampton, changed the game. We then had a bit of a disaster against Brighton, so that kind of then leaves you wondering, well, what's the best, person to go with, and where do we go with? But I think I'll go with Xerxes. My biggest problem at the moment, I think you look at the side and you're wondering where the goal's coming, and the fact that the goals coming are looking like Ahmed, for example, as our leading goal scorer, recent and Bruno Fernandes is kind of the problem, isn't it? You're not looking at a man up front, who's got the numbers like Djokovic has at Sporting, where Ruben had, and we're not seeing Garnacho put in the numbers that we're expecting him to see, and that's the thing, moving forward, the top three and your wing backs, that's where our goals need to come from. We also want to see more goals from set pieces. I'd like to see Maguire scoring more goals, De Ligt scoring more goals. So we've got to find more ways of tweaking the side to get more goals going, and then obviously needs to concede a lot less. Can't be conceding 3 and 4 goals like we have been recently, where we just concede every single game. Southampton we concede and they have to come back. Brighton we concede really, really poorly. We haven't kept a clean sheet in 2025, and it's the 23rd of January. We've got 2 more games left, I think, or maybe 3. No, I think 2. Might have been the midweek game against next week. So I think we've got 3 more games in January. Let's see if we can keep 3 clean sheets. But at this stage, not looking very likely. So that's kind of where I'm thinking where the team's going to look like. We'll obviously, have a bit of a reaction when the team does come out a bit later. So, just wait to, please be monitoring the channel because we'll have the team out as soon as it is announced. But what would you change? Where would you potentially tweak? And who are your sort of preferred players in different positions, the likes of that? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash the like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well.